Back to Aleida's Curiosity Closet. I'm so glad you guys could join us. Today is actually the 1-year anniversary of the show, which is really awesome, and I really thank you guys for all of your support and love and kindness. I really enjoy doing it, and today we're actually going to be doing stuff a little differently. We're going to be looking into some different things you can do in this county, different jobs you can get if you're a teen, because sometimes that can be really, really tricky, and it's boring because it's summer and it's long, and then you can't get work, and then you're broke, and yeah, you know how it goes. So here's our guests, Pam and Brandon. Hey, how are you guys tonight?
Just great.
So how long have you been in Calaveras County?
Oh, I was born here.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, the olden days, when it was really hard to get around because we had no public transportation at all.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a little bit easier for kids to get around today, I think, than it was in the 50s and 60s, but no less difficult to get a job.
Oh. And how long have you been here?
Well, I've been in Calaveras County for about 6 years now. Actually, 4th of July is my year mark for when I came here. But I also went to Sonora High, so I went there and then left and then came back. And Calaveras is very different than Tuolumne, and it's also a very different experience to be in Calaveras when you're an adult as opposed to when you're a high school student. So
what do you love about this county?
Me, I like the landscape. It's really beautiful here, and I think that despite what teens and some people might think, there is a lot of stuff to do here, and you know, it's just really beautiful, and there's a lot of variety of landscape too. It's not just all flat or all mountains. There's something kind of for everyone for what they like. So
for sure. Water flowing, hopefully, and swimming and lakes and hiking and photographing and animals to look at and all sorts of good things.
So, and I was hoping to start with jobs because I think, you know, you need a job to go out and really do anything. What are some of the different kinds of jobs you know that are available for teens around here?
Well, I think that there's a lot of stuff that teens can get as jobs, like for summer jobs, you know, like things like yard work. I wasn't necessarily a teen when I did this, but I did dog sitting, house sitting, and I think volunteering is a really big thing to help you get those kinds of jobs. You can usually meet a lot of people when you volunteer to that will kind of could help you ease you into something that you're interested in, and you know, working for you know, small companies doing something simple. You know, there's obviously the retail stores like, you know, Save Mart or fast food or something like that. But I think there's also a lot of other stuff out there if you know where to look.
Sure. If a kid came in to me and said, "I will show up," and be consistent about it, and then say, "I know you can't pay me, but I'm interested in learning what you can teach me, and I will sweep your floors every day, get your windows clean, take care of the garbage, do things that you need done," I'd be real interested in talking to them. On the other hand, if they say, "Well, maybe I'll be there and maybe I won't," then that puts a little crimp into that. I think the one thing about kids and jobs is they really have to realize you have to be consistent and show up. And I know that that's the biggest fret or worry about a lot of people who say, "Well, you know, I had this kid and he was there for 3 days and then he never showed up again." And I think being responsible is just huge. And if you can prove to somebody that you're responsible, they'll work you into something where they either pay you in kind or pay you in something. But it's knowing that you're gonna be there, and you know that you're really serious about it. I think that makes a really big difference.
I wanted to ask this right away. Coming from kind of a Harley-Davidson family, I've never saw a big deal with tattoos or piercings or anything. Is it difficult to get a job when you have tattoos?
Well, I will say for me, because I have tattoos and piercings, that I've never really had anybody outright say, I'm not hiring you because you have tattoos and piercings. I did have one job where I was supposed to cover them up. But I think it can be really difficult, and I don't want to tell anybody that they should or shouldn't get tattoos, but it is something that you need to be aware of if you are going out there, and especially the kind of jobs you are. I mean, if you're trying to go work at a bank or something like that, they might have a lot more.
They will have a lot of attitude
about
about
more
that.
strict rules about it.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing
if you're doing a general laborer,
right,
then that's one thing. But if you plan on meeting the customers and being a professional in any way, shape, or form, then that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
I would be uncomfortable in my business because most of my clients are ladies with a capital L, and they just would not be comfortable. And my goal as a business person is to keep my customers comfortable and happy, and so they spend money in the county. So I would have a little issue with that.
Yeah, I think that it just really depends on where you want to work, and because some places they don't really care that much, and but other places do, and so it's just it is a factor that you do. And like I said, I haven't really had anybody tell me that, but I definitely have felt like maybe that was a little bit of an issue when I first moved up here, and it was a little harder to find a job.
And it's becoming a little bit more mainstream. And if you were in, this is a really rural, really conservative area. So the thing about anything like that is you have to think, well, do I want to cut off my nose to spite my face? So if you're going to decide to do tattoos, then you may want them under your clothing until you're old enough to be established in your own career where it won't matter. Then you can make your own rules. But while you're still living, as a teen, you've got to kind of go with the flow of who's going to pay the bills.
And it brings up a good point, if you don't mind, about personal hygiene, because there could be someone who could have absolutely no tattoos or piercings, but you still, an employer would not hire them because of the way that they dressed and the way that they looked and the way they held themselves.
Or the way they smell.
Yeah, or the way they smell, absolutely.
I have had that.
Yep.
There's people applied for a job at my place and I couldn't.
Yeah.
Just couldn't.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So learning curve on all these things. But and I had to, and it's hard to say, I'm sorry, you're unacceptable, and you just get a brush off and a cold shoulder. Whereas if you come in presentable and follow those old-fashioned rules, there's a reason for some of them. It really does help. So there's things to do for jobs. One of the things that kids do oftentimes, or need to be aware of, you can go a long way with some Xeroxing. If you, I don't use a whole piece of paper, that costs me more. I make up an advertisement and I divide the paper into 3 parts so that I can cut it into thirds. Now I have a nice long thing. I could Scotch tape it onto people's mailboxes if I was looking for work. Everybody needs their windows washed, they need their raking done, they need childcare, they need mother's helpers, they need help moving. There's lots of things that kids can do. They just literally have to get out there and beat feet and, knock on, not knock on doors is kind of dangerous, but at least put your name and information and maybe a picture of you, like your school picture, and a reference on something, and put it on the mailbox, put it on the fence, put it on the door.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to get your service out there. And another way too is if you're starting off, talking to people who I mean, everybody needs their lot cleared. So, and a lot of them don't want to take the time to do it themselves, and it's actually, they figure that it's more cost effective to pay someone else to do it than to them do it. So,
but it does require that you have to make sure you have the right tools to do the work. You need your work boots, you need your long pants, you need your sunscreen, you need tools. You're going to need a rake, a hoe, a saw. You've got to be able to, or make sure that those things are going to be provided for you. But you have to think ahead and plan ahead to make sure that you're ready to go to work for the day. You bring your lunch, you figure out how you're going to get there and how you're going to get home again.
I was going to say, I think the #1 tool for anybody in this county to be able to, that will be the most helpful for them getting a job, is having a car and a license. I mean, there's public transportation and that's great, but if you can, and if you can work it to where you can use it, I think it's a really good service for people. But if you have a car, because we live so spread out here,
it is hard.
It's kind of hard, and so having a car and a license will really help you get around and show up, like
and
you
show
said.
up. And it is. And I know that when I was raising my teens, I would drive them to the job site to make sure they got there. But it was, it took something. It takes, sometimes you have to say to your parents, I will ask you to do this so that and I will then, take out the garbage at home if you will drive me to my job.
Or give you gas.
Yeah, those little things.
That's a little harder with parents, but like if you have friends giving you rides, that's usually the number one easiest way to get a ride is I'll give you gas money.
Right,
So.
right. So there are ways to. So there is a job agency here in the county, in the government center, that will teach you how to write a resume. They will teach you. They will try to job connection. They will try to connect you with services and people that you would work with. There's the volunteer connection here in the Calaveras County. All the stuff's in the phone book. It's in the wonderful kids Calaveras Kids magazine. Those are out there. My son's using the computer and studying household electrical so that he could be an electrician or help somebody do electrical. He's also studying sound technology. Lots of things that you can do also to educate yourself so you can talk the talk when you show up on the job site. Contractors need somebody to just pick up all the scrap wood at the job site. It's a big deal. And I could pay my contractor, $30 an hour to do that, or I could pay a teen to have it all bundled up and ready for my fireplace.
I took off shingles on a house, and it might seem really easy, but it's really difficult. And I got a decent wage for it, and I did it for about 3 days, and all I was doing was using this tool to scrape off the shingles on this huge house. But it was a good job, and for the same reason, they would rather pay me to do that, rather than them doing it.
Yeah.
They can get it done quicker, and they can get it done cheaper. So
right. So there's a lot of things that if you connect with some contractors, and you're steady, then they can say, okay, well, I'll sure, Dave, you can come up and pick up at the job site. You have to pick up the nails and the screws at the job site. You need to keep it clean. People expect that their lot will not be, or their driveway will not be a mess. And so I'd much rather pay somebody, $5 or $10 or $15 an hour to do a good job than pay my contractor, blessed he is, $30. But it's a matter of making that connection and then following through.
So before you mentioned being presentable, when you have someone come in who's a teenager, what are you looking for in them in maybe an interview? What would you like to see them say and do to make you
Make eye contact, keep their phone in their pocket, shake hands, ask questions, don't appear bored. That would be big. Seems reasonable to me.
Those are pretty good. Be able to answer the questions.
How are you getting here?
I think being confident, all those things that she said have a lot to do with being confident, because I've seen people do interviews who they don't know anything about a question being asked in the interview, but they're very confident. And they'll say, I'm really sorry, or they'll say something like, well, I don't really understand that. I never had the knowledge to, know how to.
It's not my experience.
It's not my experience, but they're confident about it. And they might get the job, even though, there might be someone who's more qualified, but they ask them questions like, well, I guess you pick up a rake. And,
yeah. Attitude, enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Those are huge. If somebody shows up more than once, that's a big deal. I probably will say no the first time somebody walks in. I really don't need anybody. Well, by the time they show up the third time, okay, we'll show up on Saturday. Let's see, we'll spend the day together. So, I'll teach you something and you could spend the day with me. Or I'll trade you. I need this done and I'll teach you something. Or I could pay you for the day. Then by the time they show up and they do a good something, or at least they show up, I'm more willing to talk to them on day 2. Or day 3. So sometimes it's a matter of perseverance. Just walking in one time and taking my rebuff, you should have a little boldness and come back.
I think a lot of people up here are willing to sort of take a risk on people and, give them a chance to show what they can do. And if they don't, then it's not too bad. Maybe they had a day or two or even a week worth of work, but it's like, okay, this person isn't going to work out. But it's worth it because every now and then you meet people who are absolutely really good workers and who do way better than what their employer expected.
Enthusiastic and excited.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's not. I think it's worth it to take the chance and to try to find the job because I think eventually people, if you're that ambitious, they will recognize it.
It'll work for you.
Yeah.
It really will.
Yeah.
It's if you're just not interested and you're only doing this vaguely, well, why should I bother putting out effort? I'm busy. And I've got a living to make and taxes to pay and all those other things, and I'm busy. So make a point. Find a way to fit into my world as an employer. You know, that's what I'd be saying. You know, and it happens. Mm-hmm. And it has happened in my world. So jobs, yes. Perseverance, transportation, cleanliness, attitude, enthusiasm. I think those are the main things.
I think also one thing I thought of too is getting a job that you either you enjoy or kind of has to do with something you might be interested in.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I'll help you be enthusiastic.
Some people, they hate working outside in landscaping, you know, but they're perfectly fine, you know, bagging bags at a grocery store.
Sure.
And
or making
you learn
pizza
about
boxes.
Yeah, and you learn about business, and you might think you may never get in. You're not going to stay in the grocery industry, but you do learn about business there, you know. Whereas if you're doing landscaping, you know, or construction like cleaning up, you're learning about engineering in a way. You could think of it as a lead up into that stuff. So, you know, or if you're into animals, you could pet sit or something like that.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, and there are people who have ranches who need, you know, I've shoveled a lot, you know, over the years, and what I learned was a lot more about animal husbandry. But when I was in college and high school, I watched the cooks in the restaurants so that I could learn how to do what they were doing. I hung out every day and watched people cook, and then I got a job as a cook. Obviously, I figured out how to wait tables and wash dishes in the same way, which led into the next job, which led into something else. And then while I was taking care of this person waiting tables, I got a job driving cars for a dealership because, gee, they needed somebody who was personable and would show up. And that led into a job with a landscape company, and that led into a job doing something else. But every one of those skills, even though they aren't something I'm doing professionally, every single one of those has helped me now. The job I had doing sales at Macy's over the years and Mervyn's and places, that's taught me how to do marketing in my own business now. So what I learned at 17 as a sales clerk is really valuable to me at 60 as an employer now. And I'm teaching that skill that I learned, you know, back in my teens to kids that are working for me now. Because we have to learn why do you market? Why do you move merchandise? How does this work? Everything that you ever do, if you do it enthusiastically and learn something, it'll help you in the future. And everything leads to something else. And you should remember to make note of where you worked and volunteered. And that's a big deal. I keep trying to, my own kids, write it down. What date were you here? Who did you work for, and what is their contact information? Because you can't make a resume without it. And even if all of your resume is all volunteer work and you're 15, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I mean, you know, maybe you can't say, oh, I was making $15 an hour, but you can say, I work for Ms. Smith doing childcare and home care for her, and here's her number, and she'll be my reference. And it's keeping track of some of that stuff. You've got most kids have access to computers, but there's pads of paper. And you need to keep track of where you have worked or what skills you've developed, even if it's working for your folks. I mean, if you've helped your dad on pulling electrical, or if you've helped rebuild the porch roof, or if you've painted the house, that's a skill. And that's worth writing down for the next time you are looking for skills. Oh, sorry. When I was looking for work, instead of going into each and every place and rewriting every single time my education, I made one sheet and copied it, and I could just hand it to them, all prepared. So I wasn't sitting trying to remember when I graduated from high school anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a document that I've had for 15 years on my computer, and it's like I have a resume, but this document is just a list of all the different things that I've done, and throughout the years as I apply to different jobs, because they say depending on the job you might tailor your resume to the job, and so I might I'll pull the things from it, and it's so easy to do that rather than or if I go apply, now you apply online a lot, but if you go apply you can easily just pull up that document and refer
because
to
nobody
everything.
remembers exactly what year, what month, and what date, and you need to have that
I
information.
think I learned that the hard way. I went to apply for a couple of jobs, and I was like, what year did I do that? I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I had to take it home because it looks really good if you fill out the application and turn it in right there. So I had to take it home, fill it out, and turn it in the next day. And I don't think I got that job. I'm not sure. But,
Yeah.
but I learned.
Yeah, so that's a case of being prepared.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's back to the basic is either you're being prepared by wearing the right work clothes or saying being able to shake hands or being prepared. So that's work. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I wanted to touch on different things that you can volunteer for in this county, because I tried to get a job a couple years ago and I had no experience, and no one's going to hire you if you don't have any experience.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of places like in downtown Murphy's won't hire if you have if you don't have any retail experience and different things like that. Is there any way you can volunteer to get some of that experience?
I would think so. It would seem to me that if you did that same thing, I will show up here and I will wash your windows, sweep your floors, or help you in any way for 2 weeks. And volunteer time for 2 weeks. See if they, that, and then say, now can I use you as a reference?
A good thing to volunteer for if you want retail experience is events. There's lots of events because a lot of times the events have people checking in, and they may even have to pay to check in or to pay to go to the event or music event or whatever. And so there needs to be someone sitting there taking the money. Now maybe if you're a young kid they might not have you do it, but you could be helping whoever's doing it.
But there's people parking cars.
Yeah.
There's people giving directions. There's people doing the pickup and cleanup before and after.
Yeah.
Helping set up booths. Almost any event that's going to happen, if you know somebody who's going to set up a booth, just say, could I come help you? I'll help you. I'll wrap all the pieces.
And they'll probably
be your
like,
wrapper.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I've manned a few booths, and if we had someone who wanted to volunteer to help out, that would be like, oh, great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a crafts fair coming up in Arnold, 4th of July. I've got a little one at my place. There's going to be parades. There's going to be booths in all the different towns for different things. 4th of July in McCollum Hill. So there'll be things going on. And that'd be find out who the head of the Grape Stomp Committee is and volunteer to help on Grape Stomp. Show up. Volunteer to help on 4th of July in McCollum Hill. There's music in the park through the Arts Council. Volunteer to help the Arts Council. Stuff envelopes for the Arts Council. They always need people to help them with mailings.
The one I can think of that you probably would know of is Marita Calloway does the Christmas dinner. And they have a huge volunteer effort.
Oh yeah, for Murphy's
this.
Friends putting on this amazing meal.
Yeah, and the meal is donation only. So if you were somehow involved with the parts that handles the donations, if there's a way you can be like, okay, I've handled money, or something like that.
Yeah. So all of that thing. Once again, though, you document what you're doing, so that the next time that you go into that retail store in Murphy's or Angels Camp and say, well, yeah, I have had some experience in retail. I've helped out, I volunteered, but I've helped out on this event and this event. I'm interested in fashion. I'm interested in art. I'm interested in hats and hat bags. And I went on the internet to see what they're selling for and what the new fashions is. Come in with some information.
Like a big one is another thing is Animals Humane Society and PAWS, and I would put money on it that almost every good veterinarian or someone who works at a vet, when they were starting off, they probably volunteered at some kind of like Humane Society or a vet, and that volunteer work made it easier for them to get into the actual work. So
I'll come and pet your dogs and those puppies and kittens, and gee, that's tough work.
Yeah.
And it's nice, but it's necessary, and it's nice to have it. So there are so many things. This entire county runs on volunteers, everything that's worthwhile that's going on, not everything, but practically the Relief Renew group in Murphy's, the Murphy's Park Friends, the logging museum, the Friends of the Library.
The On Rim Trail is a very volunteer organization.
Absolutely,
Yep.
Rim Trail and is something that's wonderful.
And these people go out on their day off and they
hoe and
dig,
cut.
and they cut and they haul all this stuff and they work hard, to get this trail to go. And a lot of them aren't even doing it to try to maybe work. They're just doing it because they want to do it. But if you're interested in getting forestry or anything that has to do with, the natural kind of sciences, that's a great way to
And once
volunteer.
you have stood next to somebody and shoveled with them for a day, you now know them and they know you. And they will see your character because they will see how you work. And that's huge. It's just right there. And that's really making a connection. And so much of this is about making an actual connection with the person that you're looking for work from, so that you can look in their eyes and they know that they've got somebody positive who's not going to badmouth them or steal from them or do anything crazy. So making that connection. I think that the Rim Trail project and White Pines Park, it always needs people helping pick up because there's folks that come up and they're just slobs and us locals have to take care of that. So there's lots of that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But there's also, if we think about it too, then what we didn't talk about was, of course, there's all the other organizations. There's Boy Scouts, there's Girl Scouts up here, there's Sea Scouts that I didn't even know about, and that'd be if you wanted to learn boating. They're meeting down at Maloney's. There's karate classes for kids, there's dance classes, there's gymnastic classes, there's horseback group, there's two that are here. There's summer camps up in Bear Valley of all sorts, soccer and lacrosse. There's a rock and roll camp up there this year, which should be fun. There's the Mirror Project through Murphy's Creek Theater. And they're just getting started. And there's the one other theater group. Do you remember what that's called? But it's in the Calaveras kids book. There's just, there's so much to do. Some of those things aren't paying, and it'd be nice but once again, if you were going to volunteer, here, I'll help you with this kids summer program.
It sounds like there's so many different ways this county you can have fun and get experience, and I really appreciate you joining us tonight. It was really awesome.
Yeah, we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah. We'll have to have you guys on again. I hope you guys learned a lot. And there's actually something I promised a friend I'd touch on. If you're into dance and fitness, there's Zumba classes being taught by Karina Davis. She's awesome. I love her. She's amazing. And they're taught San Andreas at the Town Hall Center. I'm not exactly sure where that is. 5:30 on Mondays. On Tuesdays in Vallecito Family for Fitness, 5:30, as well as on Thursdays. And Saturdays at 9 a.m. in Vallecito at the Family for Fitness. You guys should check it out. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And I'm always there, so if you're a stalker, you can totally stalk me there. And I want you all to know that I'm actually going to be stepping down from a while from the show. And I hope to be coming back with a show eventually, but I'm not sure how long. I just need to take a break for a bunch of various reasons. And I hope I'll see you guys again soon someday. And I hope you had fun and learned a lot on this show. Thanks for joining us.